Okay, cool. Let me share the screen. So today we are talking about strength training. Y'all see? Let me see. Share screen. Okay, see right? Okay, so hopefully it'll be a practical one today. I'll just basically walk you through some fundamentals when it comes to like strength training and things that you want to be just like looking out for. Then let me like just take a Insta story real quick. Lol. Sorry guys. Okay. Okay, so cool. So thanks for coming. So yeah, again, like I said, I'm just going to go through like the basics of strength training today, and some things that I look out for. Okay. So I guess we're gonna start with this, right? Why do we strength train? Um, is that your nephew? Okay. A couple of reasons. I guess the first big one is that it's the key to like long-term sustainable weight management. A couple of ways that is the answer is because firstly, which is point three, you basically build lean muscle mass when you're strength training, right? And with that, your BMR increases. So basically, the more muscle you have in your body, the less fat there will be on your body. And as that's your focus, as you continue to build muscle, it's just easier for you to like keep the fat off. Okay. Um, Other like great ways that or reasons we need to train, of course, gain strength, right? It's necessary um just for like our daily functions, better quality of life, stronger bones, reduced risk of injury. So even when we are doing like resistance training, we're not just improving and getting stronger muscles, which is what everybody thinks. Bone density and all that is also improving. So that's something that like as we age, um osteoporosis, all these things like become more of an issue. But we are like just now is like the time lah to like start to work on that now and not wait until the point where we're dealing with like all these like brittle bones and all these things, and we're just like priming our body now lah. So the basically who needs to strength train, right? Everybody, but the sooner you get to it, the better for you. Okay. Also improves your balance because you're just like stronger overall, right? So balance is also something that can be trained. So yeah, I've just put that in here. Better energy and moods, and of course, a sense of personal achievement because you feel like a badass when you like lift some weight. So everybody like on the program now has a strength train has a resistance training bias in their program because again that's like my approach and what is key and the most sustainable way to actually manage your weight. Any questions so far?
No, but I think your mic is too near your mouth or something. Can keep hearing your
Too
breath
loud,
or
is it?
like I don't know. No, it's okay. It's not too loud, but like there's that impact sound.
Okay, can. Is it better now?
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'll go on. Feel free to stop me if you guys have like any questions. Okay. So muscle hypertrophy is basically the how we build muscle, or it's basically what is the terminology for building muscle lah. Okay. Um, how our body builds muscle, I guess this is also something that is important to know, is that when we are actually training, our fibers in our muscles are actually being damaged. So it basically goes through like micro tears in the fiber. And after that, when we recover is when, like post training, when we're actually, getting in the sufficient protein, actually getting the rest and recovery that our body needs to recover from the training. That's when our body like starts to repair, and that repairing process is the process of like actually getting stronger lah. So in a sense, training, you can think of it as like training is like tearing down like your muscles a little bit, and then the rest and recovery is when you are building back up. So in a sense, you can only really adapt to what you can recover from. That makes sense. you can't, I mean, your body won't be able to like, if you're not able to recover from a training session and the stimulus that you're giving it, right, you're not going to be able to reap the benefits of that through like greater, like increased gain on muscle. Does that make sense? So these two things need to go hand in hand, training and recovery. Which is why even for you guys, like when it comes to like things like sleep, things like stress, things like eating enough and making sure you're eating sufficient protein, that's all the stuff that like we try to look at also, because it needs to be paired hand in hand with your training. Okay, so I'm going to go on like just one principle that I really want to emphasize on today is this principle of like progressive overload. So this is really, I mean, I know I'm a real science geek when it comes to like this, because like this is my interest, right? But like I just want you all to know like what you all need to know lah. Okay, so I get that this might not be like, you know, stuff that you may be 100% interested in, you will spend time on, but I guess I'm just trying to like give you what you really need to know when it comes to strength training and your own program. Okay, so basically progressive overload is the principle where you are continuously demanding more from your body, and you know, basically you're putting more like strain on it, to get more gain, in terms of muscle size, strength, endurance, like again by creating that physiological change. So again, the adaptation that I talked about of tearing your body down to build it back up. Okay. Um, so yeah, so that second line, that we need to do a little more overtime to increase the stress on our body to bring about an adaptation, and that is what leads to improved fitness. So how I want you to think about that is, I mean, the easy way to think about it is if you keep doing the same thing, you're not going to really see any particular improvement or change. Like it's the same thing with like anything else, right? If you keep doing the same thing and you're expecting different results, like after a certain point, you're going to reach a plateau. So that's the same way with strength training. Your body needs additional stimulus when it's strong enough, to be able to continue to make gains. Okay. So I want to go through like a couple of ways that progressive overload can be used. This is the most obvious, increasing load, basically lifting heavier. So this is quite a big one lah. And when it comes to you guys, like, I mean, you guys have like your dumbbells, your resistance bands. That's all things that you can play around with, to increase the load. So in your programs, right? I mean, this is going to be like quite practical lah. But in your programs, when you see like, I mean, in Trainerize, when you see your programs, you have the specific movement. Say it's a goblet squat, for example. The first week you're coming onto the program, you're doing it maybe for, I don't know, 12, maybe the rep scheme is like 12 to 15. You know, you have maybe a 6 kg kettlebell or something, and you're doing it and you feel like, okay, I can push until like 15 reps. If you can do that sufficiently at 15 reps and feel like, you know, you're not really like, you're not really experiencing much DOMs after that. So DOMs are like your delayed onset muscle soreness, right? The next few days, which is why I also asked you guys about your soreness level. If you don't really feel like you are struggling to recover, or it just feels really easy, like intensity wise, it's really easy when you're doing it. You don't feel much like effort, then I would say that that's probably a sign that you can really increase the load if you're already at the max of the rep scheme. Okay, so the first most obvious thing would be to increase weight. Okay. So if you have dumbbells, increase the dumbbell weight. If you have resistance bands, get a heavier resistance band tension. Okay. The second one would be to increase volume. So increased volume could be through sets or reps or both. So how you would look at this is, again, like for example, I'm just going to use the goblet squat analogy all the way. Okay, so if you're using goblet squats, say you start out with the program with 3 sets at 12 to 15 reps. The first week you're doing 3 sets at 12 reps. The second week you're doing 3 sets at 14 reps or whatever. It's getting a bit easier. You're getting a bit stronger. You can do more. The third week you're doing maybe like 3 sets at like 15 reps. So you're at the top already. At that point is when you're already at the top of the rep scheme. You're at the top of the sets. You could either increase a set or increase load. Okay, so I mean, a lot of times in your program there is a range. So I would say you likely don't need to increase the sets because I mean, some of you guys are also playing with like time constraints and all of that, but reps would be the one way you could increase or increase the weight. Okay. But I just want you to keep in mind that, like, in a sense, when you're doing more volume, you are moving more weight lah, and your body is undergoing more stress, right? So if you just want to think about it mathematically, like 3 times 12 times 3 sets times 12 reps times however many, how much weight, so times 6, for example, is a certain number. Say by the 4th week, you are doing 3 times 15 times 8. That's already more weight that you're moving altogether. You know what I mean? So that's already progressive overload across the weeks, you know? So for you guys, especially, if you feel like, the movements are, I don't know, getting a bit stale or like just easier, like then that's a time where you can use any one of these things and you have that like opportunity to switch it up within the constraints of your program lah. Okay, does that make sense? Just jump and ask me any questions. Okay. So the next one is increasing time under tension. So this is tempo. So some of you may have already used tempo in your programming. Tempo could be, like if you guys are doing like squat, it's 3 seconds down, 2 seconds up, or something like that. If you've seen the tempo, then have you seen the tempo number? So it's usually 4 numbers. It's one on the eccentric, one at the port, like an isometric, which is just at the bottom of the movement, and then a concentric, which is back up, and then isometric at the top. So basically 4 numbers. Simpler ways to think about it is it's basically adding a pause to the movement. So if you're doing a squat, you're holding for like 1 second at the bottom or 2 seconds at the bottom, whatever the number is prescribed to you. Or sometimes if you guys do like rows, I always tell you guys to like, hold at the end. So rows are like the one where you're like that, right? Okay, so rows, and you do that and you're basically like holding a pause at the top position for like maybe 1 second. That could also be a way to incorporate tempo into that movement. Other ways are just moving slower altogether. If you would have noticed, like control, when it comes to movements, when you're starting out, you tend to like rush through movements. Ask you to do a squat, you're like, okay, up and down, up and down, up and down. But as you get stronger, you feel like, even with weight, you can hold and control even as you go down, and maybe your downward motion is like slower, for example. But that is more time under tension, more time with that weight under tension. So you're actually getting stronger that way also. Okay. So in a sense, this like ways to use progressive overload is also possibly, you can look at it another way, it's also ways to sort of monitor your progress over time, right? Like some people, like you guys always ask me, how do I know if I'm getting stronger? Firstly, if you're increasing load, if you're increasing volume, if your tension, your time under tension or your tempo is increasing, those are all signs that you're getting stronger. Okay. Other things relating to time under tension, like I told you, if you're moving through a movement, basically in a more controlled fashion, or if you're adding things like, I don't know, like I don't really program pulses, but like pulses is also another way that you can use this like time under tension mechanic to basically overload your muscles. Okay. Feel free to like just stop me if you have any questions. Okay. This one is the for fun. Okay, so decreasing rest time. Again, with this, I mean, with all the programs, like there are rest times assigned. I would say that if you're not really utilizing the rest time, it probably means you're not pushing hard enough. The rest time is there for a purpose because you need to rest between the sets. I don't want you guys to be doing mountain climbers and burpees and all that kind of crap during the sets, because we're focusing on building muscle, not getting in like junk volume lah of like other exercises. So if you feel like, firstly, if you feel like you're not utilizing the rest time, it could be that you're maybe not pushing hard enough. So things like increasing your load would be the first thing I will look at. Okay. But secondly, if it's something that like it's across the weeks and you feel like maybe the first week you use all the rest and then the second week, it's getting easier, you need less rest. That's also a sign that you're progressing. Then you can just take less rest. Not an issue. Okay. But yeah, but most of the time I would say that decreasing rest time is not really something that like we would use lah. Because I want you guys to like push the load and the volume more, then I want you to take less rest, because the benefit you would see from having more volume done would outweigh that of taking less rest, basically. Okay. So I'll go on. Increase swing range of motion. So okay, like this example would be like maybe like, well, do you remember like last time we couldn't really do like maybe like lunges or something, right? So even if you are able to move through the same movement and get maybe deeper, um, you know, maybe, or even if it's in a squat. Last time you could do half a squat, now you can do a full squat. That's improve in an increase in range of motion, and that is also basically a way to progress the movements. And you're basically working through a higher percentage of the movement lah. So that's progress. Okay. This is also one reason why we do the mobility exercises, because we want to make sure that we're not hindered by your lack of mobility, and the mobility exercises are something that we work on separately, hopefully with the goal to improve your range of motion so that you can elicit more of the stimulus with training through progressive overload. That makes sense. Okay, any questions? So yeah, this is the last one I have for you, for ways to use progressive overload. This is really important. Basically improving your form and technique. This is something that gets refined over the longer term lah. Okay. But I mean, when you guys send me videos and you continue to like improve your form, firstly, you are likely using the correct muscles when you do improve it. And that whole like mind muscle, okay, there's this thing called like mind muscle connection, or like basically mind body connection. Honestly, it's not the easiest thing to achieve. And it's something that like even for me, I found that like, how many years of training under my belt, I still sometimes feel like I still rush through movements. I still like, just want to get it done. So I don't really like think when I'm doing it. And sometimes I may not be engaging the right muscles like when I'm actually doing the movement. Not because I don't know, but maybe just because of like an awareness thing, you know what I mean? So sometimes when it comes to like training, right, it's very important. Like, when you guys send me videos, like I always like to look out for like how in the zone you are. I mean, like I get it. A lot of people like to watch TV and like to do other stuff and like, do all that. But sometimes like there is the element of like actually really plugging into what you're doing and that task at hand to like focus lah. Because in the end, if you're still not using the right muscles, you could be going through the motions only. But unless you're executing it with like good form, right, you will not like 100% reap the benefits of it. You know what I mean? So it will be like less than 100% lah. I wouldn't say it will be like half, but it will be like just not like the max that it could be. So where possible, you want to start to think about like just start to be aware. Maybe you can ask me questions, or like just like Google it or whatever it is. Like maybe a particular movement that you're doing, to understand what you're exactly working in those movements. Okay, so for example, in a squat, you would think like, okay, I'm going into a squat. Squat is a predominantly, I mean, this is very like anatomical and all that crap, but a squat is a predominantly quad dominant movement. So your quads, right, your upper thighs, you want to be feeling the engagement in your quads when you're doing squat. That obviously comes with practice and like experience, but definitely like it's an awareness thing. And the more that you start to keep that in the back of your mind, that like, okay, I'm doing a row, where should I be feeling? I mean, just even it's something that you can start to do now. Start to ask yourself that question, like, I'm doing this, where should I be feeling it? Am I feeling it there? If I'm not, how can I start to feel it? Maybe it could be just like really like switching on that awareness switch. It could be, one way that I like to do it is like I will just like put my hand over that particular place that I'm supposed to feel the engagement, and I will just like basically put my hand over there like, and then like until I'm maybe like move around until I actually feel that I'm moving that particular muscle. You know what I mean? Um, I guess for you guys, like you don't need to be so specific until like like it's the whatever rectus femoris or like whatever different type of muscle. Like it doesn't really matter. Like I guess obviously the more you know it, the better. But for you guys now at this point, I would say focus on the bigger picture and know like you should know that like when you're doing squats, you shouldn't be feeling pain in your knees. Like you should be feeling your quads. You shouldn't be feeling like your I don't know chest or whatever it is. Like just try to locate the at least the general area that it should be in, and that would be already a step forward for you guys. Does that make sense? Okay. Um. Yeah. So, any other questions on progressive overload? What I would say is that in your current training, I mean, I program like currently like 4 to 6 week blocks for you guys. Um, in the 4 to 6 week blocks, the first week is usually relatively, it could be like newer movements and that kind of thing. So you're kind of still getting used to it. So I would say it's lower intensity or lower volume, even if you're doing like lower reps, right? Um, and you're still getting used to the movements. Overall, the specific movement patterns don't change. You still need to do squats, you still need to do single leg stuff, you still need to do hinges, you still need to do upper body push and pull exercises, um, and like some core exercises. But it could change, it could look differently lah, right? Across different programs. But the main bulk of it doesn't change. Okay. Uh, yeah, but basically what I would say is that in that one training block that you have, you want to make sure that like week after week there is an increase. It could be increasing load, it could be increasing volume, or it could just be, like I said, doing it with better form. But you shouldn't feel like at the end of this 4th week or 6th week, you are still doing the same thing as you did the first week. And definitely not if you're doing this for like a longer term. If I program like three sets this week or 3 sets in this block and 3 sets in the next block, maybe it's the same movement, you should feel like you're getting stronger and you're able to do more. Okay, like that should be in your head lah, and you should reach the point where you want to be able to do more. Okay. Later on I'll explain to you like another way to look at this that will be helpful. Oh, later on is now. Okay. Okay, so the next one I want to go through. I hope this is like all not lost on you guys. Okay, like please just shout if you got any questions. I don't want to be like talking science to you all. But basically, these two things, these two concepts, which I'm gonna start to put into your programs also, is this thing called RPE and RIR. So this is very important. RPE is rate of perceived exertion, and RIR is reps in reserve. So they usually get viewed together. And how I will explain this is on a day to day, I don't know, like everything about you is like different lah. I mean, you maybe having a period now, maybe in your first week of a period. Actually, first week of a period, the first few days of a period, you should feel stronger lah. But anyway, so I like what I'm trying to say is that like on a day to day, you're not exactly the same. You know what I mean? Like that's why sometimes you go to the gym, you're like, shit, how come this like dumbbell feels damn bloody heavy today? I can't lift it. But like on other days, you feel like, hey, this is quite like no, like quite okay. Like I can increase the weight. You know. So your strength level is not linear per se. It does like go up and down. Okay. Obviously trending upwards lah, right? With all things. But on a day to day, there are changes in how you feel. Maybe your sleep affects it. Whether or not you ate before that. Everything just impacts it lah. Okay, and that's why we have this like RPE and RIR scale, which is something like I told you I'm going to be including in your programming. Which you guys will see that it will teach you how to look at movements on a And basically, I mean, you're already getting a customized program, but this allows you to further customize it to how you're feeling that particular day. So if you're looking at this, right, the number on the left is RPE. So RPE 10, RPE 9.5, RPE 9, all the way down to 1 to 2. Little to no effort RPE will be like sleeping or like sitting down. And like 3 to 4 will be like maybe like going for a light walk. And then anything else above that. I mean, this can apply to cardio and strength training. I guess I will explain it more from a strength training angle for now. I will prescribe RPE and RIR numbers to you guys. RPE is not 100% intuitive, but RIR is. So for example, if I'm asking you to do a squat, right? So come and ask you, if I ask you to do a squat, at what weight or how many can you do? For example, okay, firstly, backtrack. If you're asking you to do a goblet squat, what is the current weight that you use?
5 kg.
Okay, like a single 5 kg, right? Okay,
Yeah.
like a single 5 kg. How many reps in the tank left after you complete one set?
Usually I can do the full like 12 reps in one go.
Usually you can do a full what?
12 reps at a go.
Okay, so that's fine. So if you do 12, how much more reps do you feel you're able to do after the 12, but you don't do it because I prescribed 12?
I don't know, maybe 18, 20.
Yeah. So that's 6 reps in reserve, right? So for you, that goblet squat is a RPE of 5 to 6, which is there, 5 to 6, with 6 reps in the tank, or 6 reps remaining RIR at 5 kg. Does that make sense? If I'm asking you to do that at maybe 7 kg, maybe that's an RPE 7.5 for you. And you can do 2 to 3 reps remaining in the tank. So meaning you're performing however many. So say you are, maybe if you do 7 kg, you can do 8, right? But maybe at 8, you're only able to do 2 to 3 more in that set before you reach failure. So 10 is failure. 10 is max effort failure. Can't do any more, do 1 rep only. So a sweet spot for you guys when you all are strength training is really between the 7 to like 8.5 kind of RPE out, like, so leaving at least like 2 to 3 in the tank. That's a good bet. If at any time you feel like you can do way more than that, and like if you can do 6 more, that means that you're not pushing the load, and you could be doing more. So I'll give you an example. I still teach the seniors class. I don't know whether you all know, like I have like a seniors class on like Saturday lah. Okay, everybody is very, I mean, unwilling to buy like equipment, so just using resistance bands. Okay, they're all my mom's friends, and they're all just using resistance bands, so that's fine. They are quite strong, but they just don't want to do anymore. I mean, it's like a mental block in their head lah. I decided to test them that day. Okay, and I gave them, maybe we do like a banded shoulder overhead press. So like, you know, the band, and we just press overhead, right? Maybe I will usually program like about, depending on the reps, maybe like 12 to 20 kind of reps for that kind of movement. I decided that day, and I knew that they just weren't pushing it lah. So I wanted to just see. So I told them, okay, let's go. Like usually they will do, if I give them a range, maybe the range is 12 to 15, they will just do 12, and they will like call it a day. And then I'm like, okay guys, now you're going to do this movement, do it until failure. Like, do you know what is the number that they reach with that movement? Like they reached like 50. Like they could do 50 reps non-stop with the band at that weight. So that shows me that it's basically off the charts. There was like, it was just too easy. that they're not even going to see. I mean, I can't possibly be giving them 50 reps, right, for 3 sets. So the only way that we could have progressed that is for them to use the heavier band, but like that was not what they wanted to do lah. But for you guys, like if your focus is to build muscle and to push yourselves and to really see what you can achieve, right, like you shouldn't be going too easy on yourself lah. So just going forward, right, for all of your exercises, right, like you want to be working towards the 2 to 3 reps in reserve. Yeah. Again, I will put it in the program for your programs going forward that you will see like how many reps in reserve I want you to work to and what is the corresponding RPE numbers so that you know how to gauge. And again, this is something that you can use to gauge on a daily basis because like I said, you're not going to feel the same way every day. Okay. And I just wanted to explain one thing. So like I don't know whether you guys know, but in the gyms and everything, like everybody likes to push to like the max weight. They like to see like what is the heaviest weight that they can move and all of these things lah. But with this like RPE, RIR scale or approach to things, you don't really need that anymore because like I mean like there have been like studies and everything to show that like you can still benefit and gain from like just increasing volume. Like volume is like one of the single most important indicators of like building strength lah. So just by increasing volume, right, like you will be able to like to reap the benefits of like muscle growth lah. And you don't need to push until the point where you reach like ultimate failure, which is just doing 1 rep. Like you see people doing like max squat or max deadlift or all that crap, right? They don't need to do that because with that it's very high risk of injury and low risk of return lah. But when you're working on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, just to that sweet spot of like 2 to 3 reps, reps in reserve, right? You're just reaching the spot where you can push plus still recover. Because again, like I said, you want to be pushing it, but you still want to be allowing your body to recover from the strain that you're putting it under. So these 2 things go like hand in hand. Can? I'm making sense. Are you feeling like you can push a bit more? The one big takeaway that was intended, a very pointed presentation to drive home the point that like volume is very important, and I mean recovery is also very important, but you need to push it to be able to see results. And how you push it is, and how you know how much to push, which is the big question, is this RPE and RIR scale. And how to know whether you're progressing is basically everything we went through: load, volume, tempo, range of motion, form. Like those are the ways that I assess whether or not you're improving, and you yourself can assess when you're doing it whether or not you're improving. Am I making sense? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, that's the end. That's all. It's a very to the point. No quotes today because you're not doing like all this mindset stuff. But yeah, any questions, guys?
So right, if let's say I do like the shoulder press, right? I cannot even do like the full number of reps that you asked me to do. Like I have to stop halfway, right? That is considered maximum, is it?
How many do you do?
I'm supposed to do like 12 reps, right? But I try to aim 6. Actually, by the time I'm at 5 or something, my form is not that great already. Like you can feel that your shoulders are like moving higher while you're doing it.
So if you're doing 6 reps until 6 reps is the max that you can do
At one go lah.
Yeah,
Without
correct.
any rest. Yeah.
So how many reps? Okay, so say you stop at 5, right? Then that will be a 9 RPE.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because then you have 1 rep left in the tank.
Okay.
So you're here.
Okay.
Yeah. So for you, I mean, the thing that you're going to be working on, I would say is like just based on your programming and just looking at like, everything that you've been doing. It's really, I mean, upper body strength lah, and that's something that like you need to work on. Which is why with increase, I mean, you're doing much more volume than you did before you even started the program, right? So you definitely are getting stronger, relative to where you were. But then now at this point is just to continue to do it, improve your form, continue to just show up like 3 days a week, get it done until the point where you feel like, okay, like this 5 kg I can do. Like last time I could do 5 and then I could do like 1 rep in reserve, right? Now I can push it to like 7. That's how you're getting stronger. And then like when you reach the point where it is like, I don't know, like what is the prescribed, maybe it's like 12. When you reach the point where you're at 12, and then you can start to look at increasing weight. Usually how I look at it when I personally train is, if I'm increasing the weight, I usually obviously will not try to push the volume to that same number. So for example, if I'm doing a shoulder overhead press at 5 kg, for example, to 12 reps, when I give you a range, right? If I'm first week, just talking just generally, okay? If I'm doing a shoulder overhead press with 5 kg, for example, and I'm starting the first week at 12, over the weeks, maybe by the 6th week, I'm at 15 reps, right? Just theoretically, right? By the time I go on to my next program, if there's still an overhead pressing motion, I likely can use that same weight. That will be no issue, right? But I probably will want to increase the weight a little bit. So maybe from a 5 to a 6 or 7 or whatever it is, and I will go back to the bottom of the scale of the rep range. So if it's 12 to 15, I'll go back to 12. If I feel like 12, it's all communication now, so you can still just like put it in your check-in and everything. If you feel like 12 is still too much, then we can just drop that to like 8 or something, for example. Okay. So that's where it's individualized to you. To like, people have like, different parts of their body that they're weaker at, and that's completely normal. Like, so as you do your program, you will start to realize like which part of you needs more work lah. Usually for girls, it's like upper body lah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Any other questions? No? Any other questions not related to strength training? Like anything? Nutrition, fitness, mindset? Anything? Ask questions for the people that aren't here. No questions, then yeah, I guess quite fast. We can call it a day.
Thank you.
Just reach out, okay? If you guys have any questions on this, I will start to put it into your program so you can start to play around with this already and just get used to this lah. Okay?
Okay, cool.
All right, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.